Good afternoon, Akhil, Anuradha, Harsha, Nishka, Piyush, Priya, Shanu.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
We're going to wait for 2 more minutes so that everybody can join. We can quickly take the attendance and then we can move ahead. Let's wait for 2 minutes more and then we're going to begin up. After taking the attendance, we're going to immediately begin with the content, right? I think we are good to go. Everybody has joined by now. So let's have a quick attendance and then we are good to go ahead with the content, right? So I hope my voice is perfectly audible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's have a quick attendance. So let's have a quick attendance now and then we'll move ahead with the session. Just a sec. Shanu,
Yes, sir.
Piyush,
Yes, sir.
Harsha. Harsha, is Harsha over there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Priya,
Yes, sir.
Akhil,
Yes, sir.
Veena, Anuradha,
Yes, sir.
Nishta,
Yes, sir.
Yogesh. Is Yogesh over there? Yogesh? You
No, sir,
just
he
check
is
with
not.
Yogesh. Just check with Yogesh's availability.
Yes, sir.
Once you've already communicated, he will not be there, right? So absentees as of now is Vansh. He's already communicated. So Piyush is quickly checking the availability of Yogesh. So let's move ahead. Meanwhile, let me share my screen with you all guys and then we can move ahead. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we were discussing about the mutual funds, wherein we have discussed about the structures of the mutual fund, types of mutual funds, bifurcation of mutual funds by the basis of investment objectives and by the basis of structure. So can anybody quickly help us out in recalling open-ended and close-ended mutual fund quickly? Who will help us out in recalling open-ended and close-ended mutual funds quickly? Yeah, what do you mean by open-ended and close-ended mutual funds? For a recap purpose, who will help us out?
In open-ended, the units can be increased or decreased depending on the people who are exiting and coming. And in close-ended, the units are fixed. Like if you have to sell your units, you can sell it internally.
In secondary market, basically, that will be a better answer, right? So in open-ended, you can enter into the fund at any time. You can exit at any time, subject to, of course, exit load or something like that. However, the new units can be issued and redeemed at any point of time. So as a result, for the purpose of calculation of NAV, the number of units keeps on changing. Under the close end, you can enter into that fund directly only in the particular cycle or the period when the new fund offer was given, and you can exit only on the expiry date. If you want to sell before the same, you have to sell the same in the secondary market. So here the returns will be more stabilized because number of units will be fixed throughout the tenure of the fund. So we'll move ahead with the same. Any doubts so far? Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Then we did what is the role of a sponsor and who is a sponsor. So can anybody help us out in recalling who is a sponsor? What do you mean by sponsor? Who will act as a sponsor? Who will help us out in recalling? Akhil, what do you mean by sponsor?
So sponsor is the person who acting alone and combination with the body, another bodies to corporate establishment, and he contributes the at least 40% of the net worth of investment.
Okay. So then we did about the trust and the trustees who manage that trust. So there was some qualification as laid by SEBI for appointment of a person as a trustee. So we did three qualification during our last session. So what were the three qualification, Priya? We did three qualification as required for the trustee. So that was the last topic that we covered up yesterday. So what are the three qualifications? Quickly, Priya.
हेलो
Yeah.
सॉरी सर वो कल लास्ट में मेरा बहुत ज्यादा नेटवर्क इशू था तो आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही थी तो इसलिए मैं कुछ सुन नहीं पाई थी सर
Okay.
यस सर वो स्पॉन्सर और ट्रस्टी दोनों ही नहीं सुन पाई थी सर
Okay, Anuradha, can you please help us out with the qualification required for trustee? Yeah, Anuradha. Yeah, Anuradha, I'm waiting.
Yeah. Three type of three as मतलब SBI रेगुलेशन की फर्स्ट थी एबिलिटी मतलब हॉनेस्टी रहना मतलब ट्रस्टी को हॉनेस्ट रहना पड़ता है एंड सेकंड इज द मॉडल अपॉइंटमेंट लेना
No. Who will help us out? Veena? Veena? Veena, your voice is cracking. I request you to re-log in. I request you to reconnect. So, in absence of Veena, who will help us out? Piyush?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Somebody please ask Veena to rejoin. Just call her. Somebody please call Veena and inform her to what you call exit and rejoin. Her voice is completely cracking to us. I'm not able to understand anything. Yeah, Piyush, you go ahead quickly.
All the three regulations.
Yeah. All the three qualifications.
So the one with these points, na ability, integrity, standing. Like the first one is the person should be able of that job. He should have the skills required for the job.
Okay.
Then integrity is he should be honest to his work, loyal to the work, and standing is he should already have a market reputation. The industry, like people should know him already.
Okay. What
Then
is the next qualification?
he should not be like guilty of moral turpitude. Like he should not be convicted, but there should be like no case on him.
Okay. What is the third one?
And the third is that there should be no like he should not be convicted of any crime. He should not be proved guilty in any crime.
So, since the trustee has a very important role. They not only all the investments are of the mutual funds are owned in the name of trust, and trustees are entrusted with a very important roles in a mutual fund. So they should be the person of ability who have desired professional knowledge to understand mutual funds, financial markets, integrity, honesty, and third was market standing. Should have some reputation in the market. We cannot basically appoint anybody as a trustee who does not even know any whereabouts of the market. He should have market standing. Market standing means relevant experience and reputation in the market. He should not be guilty of moral turpitude in the past, any kind of things that have been done that has question mark his moral duties or some investigations are going. However, he's not convicted, but the investigations are going. If he is being convicted of a criminal offense or economic offense, or he is convicted under the security law, so he is not qualified to become a trustee. So let's move ahead with the same. Any doubts so far? Beside this, we did the various types of mutual funds according to the investment objectives. That was equity, debt, and balanced. So under which we did. So what are the equity mutual funds? Can anybody quickly help us out in recalling what do you mean by equity mutual funds? Quickly. What do you mean by equity mutual funds?
So it is a fund in which more than 65% invested in the debt fund. More than 65%.
Equity funds की बात कर रहा हूं. I'm not talking about equity oriented funds. I'm talking about equity funds. There's a difference between equity oriented funds and funds. Haji, I'm talking equity funds.
So basically the fund which like concentrate upon equity, like 99%, almost 100% of it is invested in equity.
Which are invested in stock markets.
Yes, there's some problem with me. Just yeah. I hope the screen is perfectly visible now.
Yes, sir.
So equity. If somebody else is taking the controls, kya? Just a sec. Oh, host is on. Why is this happening in this problem with Zoom? Anyways, so equity funds or equity mutual funds are those which majorly considered on equity. So more than 99.9% are held with equity only. So we did variety of equity funds. What were the different types of equity funds? So who will help us out in recalling the what about the various equity funds that we have discussed yesterday? One by one. What were the equity funds that we discussed yesterday?
So sector specific funds,
One by one. Yeah.
index fund and tax saving funds.
ELSS tax saving fund. What about others?
Sir, thematic
Index
fund.
Thematic fund.
ELSS.
ELSS is already done. Thematic is done. What else?
Dividend yield.
Dividend yield.
Sector funds.
Sector fund.
Equity diversified fund.
Equity diversified fund. Good. So now, what is a balance fund? And what is equity oriented balance fund? Quickly. Yeah. In fact, I have asked you to write down the definition also. So what do you mean by balance fund and what is equity oriented balance fund? Quickly.
Sir, in equity oriented fund, that fund which invests more than 65% portfolio in equity fund.
And rest is the forward. So balance fund is a mixture of equity and debt. So equity oriented balance fund is those in which 65% or more is invested in equity, rest in the debt and government securities. So what do you mean by debt oriented fund? Quickly.
in which less is
फिर आवाज चली जाएगी फिर कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा।
One by one, please. Lot of background disturbance. One by one. Yeah, quickly.
Sir, debt oriented fund are those funds in which less than 65 invested in the debt market.
So debt oriented funds are those in which 65%, less than 65% is invested into equity. Is it clear? Not what you said. It's less than 65% invested in equity. So those funds who are not equity oriented fund are debt oriented fund. Is it clear? यानी 65% से कम उसमें equity है तो they are known as debt oriented funds. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what do you mean by, what were the various debt funds that we discussed yesterday? Quickly, one by one. What were the various debt funds? Yeah,
Arbitrage fund.
Liquid fund,
liquid fund, arbitrage fund, what else?
Income fund,
Income fund,
gilt fund, fixed maturity fund, floating rate fund,
floating rate fund,
FMP fund,
MIP, monthly income.
plan, and FMP fixed maturity plan. Good. चलिए, so let's move ahead. Any doubts so far?
Monthly income plan.
Yeah, monthly the plan. Any doubts so far? Shall we move ahead? Any doubt in respect to any of the things?
No doubt, sir.
Any doubt, Veena, Akhil, Piyush?
No, sir, no.
No, sir.
sir.
No. So I'm on slide number 26. Is slide number 26 visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Trust is usually a company. It's not trustee. Trustee is the person who manages. So I'll say trust. There's a typo error in this. It will be a trust, not trustee. Trustee is the person who manages the trust. So trust is usually a company, corporate body or board of trustees. Usually a company incorporated under Section 8 or Companies Act or Section 25. देखिए Companies Act में normally the Companies Act, under the Companies Act, the companies which are in general business are incorporated, but there is a special companies that are incorporated under Section 8 or 25 of Companies Act. So trust is usually a company or a board of trustees who manages the mutual fund, who act like a custodian for the mutual fund. All the investments are owned in the name of this trust only. So it is the responsibility of trustees, who are the person who is managing this trust, to oversee the functions and do the general and specific due diligence with respect to asset management company, to review the performance of the fund manager, to review his performance with respect to achievement of the investment objectives, to review, to appoint custodian, to appoint registrar and transfer agent, to oversee their work, whether they are doing their work perfectly or not. So these are all responsibility entrusted on the trustee. So trust is usually a company, body corporate or body of individual. Trustees refers to those persons. So यहाँ पे typo error है, trustee नहीं, trust बोलेंगे हम, right? So trustee is the person who manages that trust. So main responsibility of trust is to safeguard the interest of unit holders, means investors. So main responsibility of trust to safeguard the interest of unit holders, public investors, and to ensure that asset management company functions in the interest of investors in accordance with the Security Exchange Board of India. So main responsibility of trust is to safeguard the interest of unit holders and ensures that the AMC functions in the best interest of investors in accordance to the Security and Exchange Board of India. So I hope it's clear. Safeguard the interest of investors, ensure that AMC are functioning in respect of best interest of investors so as to achieve the investment objectives. So that is the main role that is entrusted with the trustees who is managing the trust. Is it clear? Is slide number 26 clear? Any doubt so far?
Yes.
Clear.
देखिए इनके परफॉर्मेंस भी रिव्यू करते हैं. If anybody aware about what is a board meeting? Any idea to anyone what is board meeting?
Yes, sir.
क्या होता है board meeting में पीयूष?
सर कंपनी से और जो भी यूनिट होल्डर से रिलेटेड अफेयर्स होते हैं वो डिस्कस होते हैं.
तो डायरेक्टर्स जनरली once board meeting is called once in a quarter, जिसपे कंपनी के परफॉर्मेंस स्ट्रेटेजीज एवरीथिंग इज डिसाइडेड. सिमिलरली बोर्ड ऑफ गवर्नर्स ऑफ ट्रस्टीज की मीटिंग बुलाई जाती है. उसमें परफॉर्मेंस देखा जाता है कि इस एएमसी इज डूइंग इट functioning properly. Performance of fund manager is reviewed in line towards investment objective. What was the investment objective? Is he working towards achievement of that objective or not? Is there any corrective action need to be taken? So every review of the functioning of EMC fund manager is done by the board of trustees in this meeting. Is it clear? Plus, whenever any fraud or any specific event happens, so that thing also being taken into consideration by the board of trustees. Is it clear? Is slide number 26 clear?
Yes, sir.
No. Asset management company. Asset management company is approved by SEBI. So whatever asset management company, since you are aware, there will be one sponsor who will make a trust company as well as asset management company. This asset management company is a common company which manages all the mutual funds owned by that. For example, HDFC Asset Management Company manages all the mutual funds that are in the name of HDFC. ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company will manage all the funds, whether it's a debt fund, balance fund, so whether it's a debt fund, balance fund, etc. So asset management companies' main role is to manage the day-to-day affairs of the fund. So it's a common company which serves all the mutual funds that are present and sponsored by the same party. Like HDFC Asset Management Company manages all the funds owned by HDFC, whether it's a balance fund, equity, debt, etc. Similarly, ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company manages all the funds owned by ICICI Prudential. It's a value discovery fund, opportunities fund, arbitrage, everything. So it's a common company that manages the funds. So the main role of asset management company is to do day-to-day affairs of the mutual funds, like buying, selling, in order to achieve the investment objectives, processing of calculation of NAV, processing, help in coordination with the registrar and transfer agent for day-to-day affairs. So that's the role of asset management company. So whatever asset management company that a sponsor create, it need to be approved by SEBI. There's some guidelines which need to be followed, and based on that guidelines, the SEBI granted approval to AMC. So AMC is approved by Securities and Security Boards of India to act as asset management company of the mutual fund. The AMC is appointed by trustees as the investment manager for managing the day-to-day affairs of the mutual fund. The AMC, according to SEBI, must have a net worth of 10 crore at all time. So AMC का minimum net worth 10 crore होना चाहिए at all time. So that's a requirement of SEBI, that it should have minimum net worth of 10 crore all the time, so that the operations can be continued without any disturbance. So they ensure that itna उनके पास होना चाहिए in form of net worth, so the operations can be done effectively. Is it clear? Is slide number 27 clear? Any doubt so far? Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
So,
Priya, Harsha, Veena, Nishta, Anuradha?
no, sir.
No, sir.
No. So when we were discussing about the trust and trustee, so the trustees will also appoint not only the fund manager for the asset management company, but also appoint a custodian. And in fact, if you guys remember, yesterday I showed you the HDFC mutual fund. So there were 3 custodians. Do you guys remember? There were 3 custodians for HDFC mutual funds. Do you guys remember?
Yes, sir.
Sir, भूल गए.
Yes, sir, we remember.
Yeah. So what is the role of custodian? All the securities that are owned by mutual funds in the name of investment trust are kept in safe custody of the custodian. So the securities will not be available with asset management company. The securities will be stored in safe custody with the bank or a financial institution. So that's the main role of our custodian. So custodian is a trust company, bank or similar financial institution responsible for holding and safeguarding the securities owned within the mutual funds. As a part of the role, custodian need to accept and give delivery of securities for the purchase and sale transaction for various schemes of mutual funds. The custodian is appointed by mutual fund trust. A custodial agreement is entered between the custodian and trustee. देखिए इसे asset management company appoint नहीं करती. It is appointed directly by the trustee. So it is their responsibility to deliver or take the securities at each and every time when the purchase and sale is done. Of course, it will be done on behalf of, it will be done by AMC fund manager. So, but he gives a proper approval, and based on the proper documents, the custodian will either accept or give delivery of securities. So as a part of it, they need to give accept or give delivery of securities on every purchase and sale transaction of the mutual fund. So it's directly appointed by the mutual fund trustees. So there's a custodial agreement entered between the trustee and mutual funds, and this custodian, they charge fee for providing that services. So it's purely the same thing which we did under the different sector. So custodian is a person with whom bank or financial institution where the assets of the mutual funds are stored in safe custody, and the custodian charges fee for providing these services. All the custodian also need to be registered with SEBI, so that the minimum certain rules and regulations they follow. So all the main custodians also need to get themselves registered with SEBI. Is slide number 28 clear? Anything which is not clear or needs further elaboration? Slide number 28.
Yes.
No. Now, fund manager, the most important person who manages the fund. Your returns, the returns which I show you in Mirai 35, 40. It is completely dependent upon the wisdom and judgment of fund manager. I'll show you the profile of few fund managers just to get an idea how and what kind of qualifications that a fund manager needs, right? So fund manager are the professional or expert who is responsible for profit and loss of a particular fund. They play a very vital role in with his or her expertise in the market. So these are the professional or expert who is responsible for the profit and loss of a particular fund. They play a very vital role with his or her expertise in the field of financial market. Now, the mutual fund manager who does have the knowledge on this matter, he evaluates the risk and potential returns. What are the risk and the potential returns, and build a portfolio to accomplish the objective of the funds, keeping in mind the risk involved and return. So higher will be the risk, higher will be the return. So it is his preview, his perception. So mutual fund manager who does have knowledge on these matters, evaluate the risk and potential returns, and based on the risk and potential return, he build a portfolio to accomplish the aim of the mutual fund. So he is a very, very important role. If he does not do his activity well, so your mutual fund will not fetch you the better return, and it will not move towards the achievement of the goal. So he very, very important role a fund manager have. If the fund manager is very good, so mutual fund will fetch you a very good return. So Mirai and other things. So these are the top fund managers who have generated exceptional return because of their intelligence, because of their understanding of the financial market. So it is only for your sake and for your further knowledge, as a matter of curiosity, I'm showing you few profile of the fund manager, how professional expertise. It is not like anybody who just recently passed out will be made as fund manager. You require 5 to 10 years, at least 10 years, 8 to 10 years experience in order to become the fund manager. So I'll show you some profile for your better understanding, as a matter of curiosity, to understand what kind of the professional qualifications actually required to become a fund manager. They play a very vital role. If fund manager is not nice or he does not able to understand market value, he will result in negative returns from the market. So it is solely responsible for basically profit and loss, whatever you earn during the earned by the mutual funds, based because all the decisions relating to day-to-day purchase and sale is taken by him. So I hope major roles of fund manager is clear. Is the role of fund manager clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
Yes,
So far?
sir.
So let me show you the top fund managers in India, their profile, to just to give you an idea. Just a sec, the page is getting open. So old list, previous one was a new list, just a sec, not getting open. So can you see the name of the top fund manager for the year 18-19?
Yes, sir.
So Nilesh Surana, Mirai Asset Mutual Fund, for which we did yesterday did a research. Sohini Andani, SBI Mutual Fund. Harsha Upadhyay, Kotak Mahindra. Mahesh Patil, Aditya Birla. Shailesh Rajwan, Reliance Mutual Fund. So I want to show you the profile just to give you some idea. Nilesh Surana has completed his MBA, has 19 years of experience. So he has 19 years of experience. After 19 years of experience, he has become as a fund manager. He has constantly outperformed his fund benchmark. There's a strong focus on strong collection. He and his team adapt a detailed, rigorous analysis to select the stock to become a firm part of the firm. He maintained both high growth stock as well as value picks. So he is a fund manager of Mirai Asset Emerging Blue Chip, Asset Indian Equity Fund, Asset Tax Saver Funds. जो हम लोगों ने कल एग्जांपल्स देखे थे उन सबकी जो फंड मैनेजर थे दिस इज मिस्टर नीलेश सुराना. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Second is Sohini Andani, SBI. She is a qualified chartered accountant since May 2010, so almost around 8 to 9 years experience. So she has extensive experience in the field of this. Harsha Upadhyay. So they all will be with very good experience. Like Harsha Upadhyay, 2 decades of experience in investment management industry, MBA with CFA. Mahesh Patil, again MBA with CFA. So it's a mix and match of different qualification. However, most of the fund managers are very highly qualified and have at least 10 years of experience. Is it clear? 8 to 10 of years of minimum experience in order to become the fund manager. Is it clear? Any doubts so far?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts to anyone? Piyush,
No, sir, no.
Akhil, I've already sold, no doubts. Veena, Harsha,
No doubt, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
okay. Nishta, Anuradha, no doubt. Anyway, chaliye, move ahead to slide number 30. Is slide number 30 visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So during the diagram, the trustees not only appoint the fund manager, which is a part of AMC, but also appoint custodian as well as registrar and transfer agent. So registrar and transfer agent is an independent institution which plays a very similar role that registrar played in an IPO. So what was the role of registrar in an IPO? I hope you remember level 1 under the cash equity IPO participants. So they were registrar. So do anybody remember the role of registrar under an IPO? What was the role of registrar in an IPO? Yeah,
Sir, it provide support, administrative support to the process, issue process.
provide administrative support, right from collection of the bid to allotment to processing of refund.
Collection of applications and
Basically, he registered you as a shareholder. So similar role of registrar and transfer agent is there in this case. So AMC if so authorized by the trust deed, the asset management company, if so authorized by the trust deed, appoints registrar and transfer agent to the mutual funds. देखिए AMC खुद भी कर सकती है, but generally for better safety, it's third party is appointed. So AMC if authorized, अगर trust deed ने authorize नहीं कर रखा तो directly trustees को appoint करेंगे. अगर authorize कर रखा तो then AMC can also appoint on their behalf. So AMC is so authorized by the trust deed shall appoint the registrar and transfer agent of the mutual fund. The registrar processes the application form. The registrar processes the application form, redemption request, and dispatch the account statement to the unit holders. Registrar processes the application form, redemption request, and dispatch the account statement to the unit holders. So registrar processes the application form, redemption request, and dispatch the account statement to the unit holders. The registrar and transfer agent also handle the communication with investors and update the investor records if required. So he coordinates with investors, distributor, mutual funds company to a great extent. So it is his responsibility to register yourself as a unit holder, to transfer, to redeem, to process for the redemption. So it is his responsibility. So if so authorized, the major process is that is followed by the registrar. He processes the application form, redemption request, dispatch the account statement on regular basis to the customer, and also handle the communication between the investors regarding anything regarding the units, investor records, etc. So independent institution which generally takes care of this activity so that their activities can be more effectively done. So I hope the role of registrar is clear. It's very similar to the same role which registrar used to have in IPO. He's responsible for processing of the new application, is responsible for redemption of old, responsible for transfer or updating of the investor records. Is it clear? Is slide number 30 clear? Any doubts so far?
no, sir.
Sir,
Any doubts so far? To anyone? Because we will be moving next part to a very, very important part under the asset management, which is hedge funds. Is it clear? Is slide number 30 clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, next part is a very, very important part. Very, very important part. Yeah. Now, hedge funds. You must have heard about a lot of things about hedge funds. Some people say is they are rich people's mutual fund. Some people say they are private mutual funds. Some people say it is not open for all. So you must have heard about a lot about hedge funds, but today you will understand the concept of hedge funds. Why are they called as hedge funds? And why are people scared now to invest money in hedge funds? So why are they scared? Is it the product type? Is there the risk involved? What? But still, a lot of people speculate it in a greater extent. So hedge funds. So let us know about the facts about hedge funds. What exactly is a hedge fund? What are the different four types of models of hedge funds? We want to cover up what is the opportunities available for investment banks in terms of fund administration, fund accountings for hedge funds. So we'll discuss all these in detail, in depth, one by one. So first, let us decode the word hedge funds. So if anybody have any idea, any vague idea about what exactly is hedge fund? To anyone? Hanji, any idea to anyone?
Pooled money from the HNIs and reputed persons and invest in other securities.
Okay. Actually, before this, let me ask you a very simple question. Is mutual fund allowed to participate in derivative market? Yes or no? Is mutual fund allowed to participate in derivative market? Yeah. Is mutual fund allowed to participate in derivative market or do or not? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Why? Why actually?
Derivative market is highly risky and
Sir, I guess because mutual funds involves lots of investors, small investors, and it is really highly risky to invest in derivative market.
Hedge, no mutual funds in India especially are allowed to make any investment in derivative market other than arbitrage fund, but arbitrage fund does not make investor meant for speculation. It only cover up its risk. So we did an example of arbitrage fund where arbitrage was having the position. So जितना उसका position था उससे ज़्यादा उसने उसको hedge किया था through derivatives. Otherwise, no mutual funds are directly allowed to participate in derivative market, or since the market is huge risky, there are chances that you may make a lot of money, but there are chances that you may lose the entire money also. So which make it damn risky. So hedge fund is the only fund which actually participate into derivative market. So it's the only fund which especially focus on participation into the derivative market, which make it risky. Initially, the hedge fund was launched on the basis of concept that those people who cannot hedge their position by directly entering into a forward contract or OTC contract or swap, since they do not have sufficient fund available, and plus they do not have such a big exposure, plus they cannot enter into the agreement because of formalities and all. So in that situation, just to give them the benefits, just to give them an opportunity to hedge them in low cost, hedge funds were launched. However, it was initially launched only for the purpose of hedging, but when speculators start using these funds, so they start using these funds to do high-end speculative trade, which make these hedge funds very, very risky. So till the time it was used only for the purpose of hedging, like we were using in arbitrage. Do you guys remember the arbitrage example? Shall I open that arbitrage example portfolio again for you? Do you guys remember?
Yes, sir.
so
So arbitrage fund was using derivatives to hedge their positions. So till the time you were using the hedge funds to just hedge your position, it was fine. But when people start speculating using, the people were not having any position in the market, but they enter into the hedge funds, especially with that objective of doing speculation. So that makes that derivative market very risky. Till the time, if you are entering the derivative market either directly or through hedge funds only for the purpose of hedging, you are safe. You will not suffer a loss. Even if you not get profit, you will be no profit or no loss. But when you enter into this market with the purpose of speculation, so it will lend to lot of chances there that you will receive huge profit, or there is chances that you will suffer a huge loss also. So let us decode these hedge funds one by one. Now, history of hedge funds. On slide number 32. Is slide number 32 visible to all of you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
History of hedge funds. Hedge fund is not a new concept. In 1949, just 2 years after our independence, Alfred Winslow John devised and implemented an investment strategy that would forever brand him as a father of hedge fund industry. In 1949, when we does not know even the meaning of stock market, where in India the people does not know the meaning of stock market. So there was a guy known as Alfred Winslow who devised and implement an investment strategy. He only launched it for the purpose of hedging, not for speculation. So he implemented an investment strategy that would forever brand him as a father of hedge fund industry. Jones launched his own fund and raised a total of, his full name is Alfred Winslow Jones. So John launched his fund and raised a total of 1 lakh US dollar. Jones launched his own fund and raised a total of 1 lakh US dollar. So it was only for the purpose of hedging, not for the purpose of speculation when he launched. So it was to neutralize the effect of overall market movement. He balanced his portfolio using these hedge funds. The effect is to hedge the path of risk due to overall market movements. So in 1947, it was the first time when he launched his hedge fund. So it was basically raised with a total of $1 lakh during that time. It was a huge amount. It was done to neutralize an effect of overall market movement. So it was especially only for the purpose of hedging it was launched. Later on, when it was started using for speculation, so the situation really turned to be very difficult. So it will result in profit also, it will result in huge loss also. Till the time it was used only for the purpose of hedging, that it was a good product. And those who cannot afford direct hedging can invest into these hedge funds in order to hedge their positions. Is it clear? Is slide number 32 clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Any doubts so far?
Sir.
Anji? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Veena, any doubts? Veena, Arsha, Priya?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Now, I'm on slide number 33. Is slide number 33 visible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So slide number 33 is hedge funds are reputed to be high risk because they invest in derivatives. So only if you use for the purpose of hedging, it's a beautiful option. But when you start using it for the purpose of speculation, it is high risk. There are chances that you will make a lot of profit, but there are same chances that you may lose a huge amount of a principal amount also. So hedge funds are reputed to be high risk because they invest in high-end risky derivatives. They are sought to eliminate or reduce the market risk if it's used for the purpose of hedging. The most obvious market risk is a risk faced by investors in shares because of volatility. The most obvious market risk is a risk faced by an investor in shares. As a broad market moves down, investor shares also fall in value. Traditional absolute return hedge funds attempt to profit regardless of the general movement of market by carefully selecting the combination of asset class, including derivative, by holding long and short position. Now, most obvious risk in investing in financial market is in stock, because stocks is highly volatile, it moves up and down continuously. So traditional means the old actual hedge funds, the old actual hedge funds which was previously launched. So traditional absolute return hedge funds जो थे, they attempt to give you profit regardless of the general movement of the market, where it's still going up and down, by carefully selecting the combination of the position. अगर आपका let's say stock market में आपका long position है, तो आप hedge funds में derivative के अंदर short position बना लीजिए through hedge funds. But if you have long position over here, so you make a short position. So carefully selecting the combination so that अगर market up move होता है तो आप वहां से profit कमा लेंगे, when market will fall down, you'll make profit from here. So it's purely hedging. So traditional absolute return hedge funds are those who attempt to profit regardless. If not profit, so it will help in covering up loss at least. So traditional absolute return hedge funds attempt to profit regardless of the general movement of the market by carefully selecting the combination of assets, including derivative, by holding both long and short position. So अगर आपका normal market में long position है, आप short बना लीजिए, यहाँ वहाँ short है तो यहाँ पे long बना लीजिए. So this is how you can attempt an earning, so that अगर long से कोई profit भी होता है या loss भी होता है तो short से compensate हो जाएगा, इधर से उधर से, और इधर loss होता है तो वहां से profit के through compensate हो जाएगा. So till the time you use this funds only for the purpose of hedging, it's a beautiful product. But when we start using it for the purpose of speculation, it becomes a highly risky product. So all the traditional absolute return previously used hedge funds were only used for the purpose of speculation. So as to was only used for the purpose of hedging, so as to which help us in generating of the profit, irrespective of the general movement of the market, whether up and down, by carefully selecting the combination of classes exactly in the opposite direction. अगर वहां long है तो वहां, यहाँ short है तो वहां long position बना. So that was the old traditional hedge funds. Nowadays hedge funds are used only majorly used for the purpose of speculation, and to a very smaller extent used for the purpose of hedging, majorly to the purpose of speculation. So they invest in high risk derivatives, so which make them very risky. So they may earn huge amount of money, they may lose on huge amount of money. So is slide number 33 clear? Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Veena, Akhil,
No, sir.
Not also.
okay. So let's move ahead. What are the characteristics of hedge funds? Now, most hedge funds are unauthorized, a very important thing. Most, don't worry, I'll dictate you the definition of hedge funds. Although we have given our feedback at our level also to the headquarters that hedge fund definition and other things to be more streamlined in the content. I'll give you the definition separately. I'll jot it down after some time. So, which is very important for you, especially in the interview. So let us do the characteristics, and then after some time while explaining towards the end, I'll dictate you the definition of hedge fund. So you may use this definition, right, during the interview. So most hedge funds are unauthorized. They are not properly authorized or they have proper approvals. So they are private hedge funds, generally unauthorized. So most hedge funds are unauthorized, cannot be marketed to private individual as they are very risky. So it is only for a few private people they trade themselves. So these are unauthorized, not having proper authorization from the government, cannot be marketed to private individuals, so they are very risky. Most hedge funds require a very heavy minimum investment level in exceeding of 50,000 euro or 1 million euro. So minimum requirement is 50,000, 1 million, or it could be 10 million also for few. So it required a huge amount of minimum investment that need to be made. So as a result, it remains open to few people only, not for everyone. So it requires a huge investment in excess of 50,000 euro, or in case of more than 1 million euro. Some hedge funds require an investment more than 10 million euro also, depending upon the hedge fund. So minimum investment is very high. Lack of regulation cause hedge funds to invest in any type of asset they wish. Because of not proper regulation across the world, so they can invest in any form of asset wherever they can gain maximum returns. Generally, they speculate a lot. So lack of regulation can cause hedge funds to invest anywhere in any asset which they wish to. Yes. Many hedge funds can also borrow funds and use derivatives to potentially enhance return. So many hedge funds also borrow funds from different sources, and the funds they have borrowed through that funds they put a high and risky derivative position, so which make them more risky. So many hedge funds can borrow funds and use derivatives to potentially enhance return. Liquidity, they impose an initial lock-in period. So most of the hedge funds impose an initial lock-in period between 1 to 3 months, before which investor cannot sell their investment. Lock-in यानी you cannot exit that hedge fund. So minimum between 1 to 3 months तक का वो lock-in period लगा देते हैं, so that you cannot exit the investment made in that hedge fund. Cost, performance related fees are levied, which the investor will pay if the certain performance level. So the asset management company or the person who is managing these funds pays performance-based fees, which is payable once it reaches a certain performance. So it is a mixture of generally a fixed plus performance level. So whenever that performance is achieved, a performance-related fees is paid to the person who is managing that hedge funds. So is these characteristics clear? Any doubts? Anything with respect to these characteristics?
So
Sorry.
gearing. Sir, please explain gearing once again.
See, gearing means hedge fund were borrowing money from different banks and institutions, and out of that borrowed money they were investing into derivative market. It is like you are at a bigger risk. So you must have heard from many times from people that if you want to invest in stock market, only invest from your own money, not from the borrowed money. Because even if it's a loss, so it is easier for you to absorb the loss. So similarly, gearing means many hedge funds borrow a huge amount of money, and out of that borrowed money, they invest into the market. But when they suffer a loss, so it is difficult for them to repay it along with the principal and interest. So their financial position gets weak. And ultimately, the weak financial position is impact the investors. So practically, they borrow the money from different sources and invest in high-end derivatives, which makes them more gear and more risky. Is it clear? So many times you must have heard कि अगर stock market में पैसा लगाना है, it should not be a borrowed money. So even if you lose money, so you can absorb that loss. But if you have borrowed money, you have to return back within a stipulated time period, no matter whether your investment works or not. Is it clear? So gearing means raising the money, and out of that raised money, they are investing in a high-end derivative. So even if they are suffer a loss, so it becomes difficult for them to repay the same, right?
Sir, lock-in period कितना था?
1 to 3 months. 1 to 3 months ये जनरल है. यानी आपने अगर इन्वेस्ट किया है like 1 million, minimum 1 million है, 10 million भी होता है. So you cannot exit before 1 month. 1 to 3 months होता है जनरल. कोई फिक्स पीरियड नहीं, but 1 to 3 months होता है जनरल. Is it clear? एक बार आपने पैसा डाल दिया तो 1 महीने 2 महीने या मैक्सिमम 1 to 3 months जनरली होता है. उसके बाद ही आप उसको विड्रॉ कर सकते हो. उससे पहले यू कैन नॉट विड्रॉ. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other doubt? Anything which need to be further elaborated? See, gearing.
No, sir.
Gearing means when instead of investing from your own capital or the capital that you have taken from your unit holders, you are taking further loans, and against that loans, whatever money you have raised, you are investing into high-end derivatives. If high-end derivatives will not work, they do not give the desired return. So you cannot say no to the person from whom you have raised the loan. So that makes you into financial difficulties. Is it clear that you are not able to repay your loan on time because you expect the money to grow double, but the money, instead of growing double, it become half. So it's difficult for you to repay the same to the bank along with interest. Is it clear? I hope the getting point is very, very clear.
Yes, sir.
Any other doubts so far?
No, sir.
Now, a very, very important point. What are the structure or four types of mutual fund, four types of hedge funds? What are the four basic types of hedge funds? Or what are the basic structure of hedge funds? So hedge funds are classified into four categories. First is standalone fund. Second is side by side fund. Third is master feeder. Master feeder fund model is the most used hedge fund model across the globe. So there are four types of structure or four types of model of hedge funds. You have standalone fund, you have side by side fund, you have master feeder, which is the most common methods generally used, and last is fund of fund. So we will decode it one by one. So first is the standalone fund model. Second is basically your side by side fund. Third is master feeder. Fourth is fund of fund. So we'll decode this one by one. In which master feeder सबसे ज़्यादा use होता है, followed by side or fund of fund, and standalone is the last. So mostly you will find master feeder. It's the most common form of hedge fund generally used. So what's the difference between a standalone model? What's the difference between side by side? What's the difference between master feeder and fund of funds? We'll discuss it in the coming slides. Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, standalone fund, the simplest and the most common, simplest and the most traditional model, you may say, not common, traditional model. Standalone funds, initially ऐसे चालू होते हैं. Standalone funds, in this type of funds, investors invest in the same entity where the investment decisions are taken. Yani, if let's say hedge fund is based in US, so whether you are a US based investor, non-US based investor, you are investing in the same company in which the investment is made. Normal simple type of hedge fund, where the investment is also coming in the same entity and the investments are also made from the same entity. It's not routed through different entity. Whether you are US based or non-US based, everybody is contributing in the same entity, and it is invested also from the same entity. In this type of funds, investor invest in the same entity where the investment decisions are taken. यानी पैसा भी इसी एक ही एंटिटी में आ रहा है, चाहे वो यूएस सिटीजन्स का हो, नॉन यूएस का हो, और उसी एंटिटी से डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट किया जा रहा है in derivatives and other markets. Is the standalone model clear? The investment is also coming in the same vehicle, same mutual fund, whether it's from US and non-US, and investment are also made in the same entity, not routed through any other entity. Is it clear? Is the first model clear? Is the standalone model clear?
No, sir. Elaborate कीजिए ना, समझ में नहीं आया.
म्यूचुअल फंड में क्या होता है? म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसा आप कहाँ देते हो? What is the common type of working model of mutual fund? What exactly is the working model of mutual fund? Can anybody explain? What exactly is the working model of a mutual fund? Normal mutual fund. I'm not talking about hedge fund. What is the normal working model of a normal mutual fund? Who will explain? Piyush.
Yes, sir. So basically the people give the money to the company, and the asset management company manage the money in accordance with the plan you have selected or the mutual fund you have entered.
You pool the money and put the money in one investment vehicle. That's a mutual fund. And the investment are also made in that in mutual funds. So sari pooling of the money is done into that trust company, and that trust company, that mutual fund company directly invest. Yani most of the hedge funds are either located in US or abroad. So चाहे यूएस के इन्वेस्टर हो चाहे अब्रॉड के हो, वो सारा पैसा उस यूएस हेज फंड में डाल रहे हैं और उस हेज फंड से सीधा सीधे मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है विदाउट इन्वॉल्विंग एनी इंटरमीडिएटरी और एनीबडी इन बिटवीन. इज इट क्लियर? All the money that are coming in the hedge fund, whether it's from US people or non-US people, that are floated into that hedge fund company, or wo hedge fund company is directly investing that money without routing through some subsidiary or any other entity. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is the standalone fund clear now?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
हर्षा क्लियर है? हर्षा, प्रिया,
Yes,
अनुराधा?
sir.
Yes, sir.
मतलब जिस एंटिटी में आप पैसा डाल रहे हो, चाहे आप यूएस के कस्टमर हो नॉन यूएस के हो, जिस हेज फंड में आप पैसा लगा रहे हो, वो हेज फंड खुद ही डायरेक्टली अपने नाम पे डायरेक्टली इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है विदाउट इन्वॉल्विंग एनी इंटरमीडिएटरी इन बिटवीन, राइट? स्टैंड अलोन, जिस एंटिटी में पैसा जा रहा है उसी एंटिटी से डायरेक्टली इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है विदाउट इन्वॉल्विंग एनीबडी. दैट्स अ स्टैंड अलोन फंड. इज इट क्लियर? इज इट वेरी वेल क्लियर विद एवरीवन?
Yes, sir.
किसको सब एक्चुअली किसी ने बोला तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा. Who was it? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
हर्षा क्लियर है?
Yes, sir.
नॉर्मल म्यूचुअल फंड में भी होता है, हम जिस म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसा डालते हैं उसी म्यूचुअल फंड से डायरेक्टली इन्वेस्ट होता है, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल हमने लेट्स से मेरा एसेट टैक्स सेवर फंड में डाला पैसा, तो मेरा एसेट टैक्स सेवर फंड में हमने जैसे पैसा डाला तो उसी फंड से डायरेक्टली इन्वेस्ट होता है, राइट? एक नॉर्मल म्यूचुअल फंड में जैसा होता है. दैट्स अ स्टैंड अलोन मॉडल. So is this model clear? Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Harsha clear है? Harsha, Priya, Anuradha, Piyush?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
अब सेकंड मॉडल समझना, इससे पहला मॉडल और ज्यादा क्लियर हो जाएगा. दैट्स साइड बाय साइड मॉडल. साइड बाय साइड में there are two funds that are managed side by side by a common investment manager. So there are two funds. One fund is domestic hedge fund, another is offshore hedge funds. So domestic hedge funds is only for US taxpayers. So domestic funds are wherein the contribution is there from the US taxpayer. And offshore hedge funds is where the contribution is made by non-US people or the US tax exempted people. Yani there are two funds that are going side by side. The management, the asset management company which is managing the same is common, but there are two simultaneously side by side funds are going. So one fund is known as domestic hedge fund, which is for the local US taxpayer. So they're pooling the money in this domestic hedge funds and investments are made in name of that domestic hedge fund. Second is offshore hedge fund, which is created for non-US as well as US tax-free exempted taxpayer. So they are pooling their money not in the domestic hedge fund. They are pooling their money in offshore hedge fund, which will be located in some tax haven country so that there is no tax. So that non-US people and the US tax-free people will pull their money in offshore hedge fund, which will be located in some tax haven country so that there is no tax. And the investments are also made in that name. Only the management of both domestic hedge fund as well as offshore hedge fund is done by a common asset management company, which may be located in US. So, however, whatever profits and loss they will earn, so they will pay taxes. For domestic hedge fund, they will pay taxes into the US. For offshore, they need not to pay any taxes in US because it's located in a tax haven country. So only for the purpose of benefits of taxations and for easy compliance of laws, compliances, because US have strict compliances, this model is created. So there are two side-by-side funds managed by a common asset management company. So one is a specific fund where the domestic hedge funds are domestic US taxpayers are contributing and investment are also made into that domestic hedge fund name. Another is for offshore where non-US citizens as well as US tax exempted citizens are contributing their money and investments are also made in that offshore hedge fund. So two funds are going side by side. Only the management is done by a common investment management company that's in US. The best advantage will be that जो standalone model था पहले वाला उसमें चाहे वो यूएस का इन्वेस्टर हो या नॉन यूएस का हो, क्योंकि वो सारा पैसा यूएस में इन्वेस्ट हो रहा था, तो ऑन विच द taxes were levied on the entire fund, whether the investment is from US and or as well as non-US taxpayer. In this, the taxes will be only levied on the US domestic hedge fund, not on offshore. Offshore, the taxes will be levied in the country where it's located, so which will be a tax haven, so the taxation is saved. So under the side-by-side hedge funds are structured to include both domestic and offshore. So there are two funds that are working side by side, one for domestic, one for offshore, are managed by a common investment manager. So the main logic is, पिछले मॉडल में क्या हो रहा था, whether it's a US taxpayer or non-US taxpayer or non-US citizen, so they need to pay taxes in US because the income was generating completely in US. So जो भी वो profit कमा रहे थे, that was generating in US, so they have to pay tax whether they were US citizen. In this, the profits that only domestic hedge funds is generating, which is only pertaining to US taxpayer, need to pay taxes in US. Remaining need not to pay tax in US because they are from some other country. So that's why generally tax haven, so they don't have to pay the taxes in US. Is it clear? Is slide number 37 clear? Side by side model clear? I hope by now standalone is almost clear with you. Why? What was the disadvantage of standalone? Standalone का ये disadvantage था, entire income was earned in US, so the taxation, complete taxation was paid even by non-US taxpayer on that amount. In this, it will not be paid because it's located in tax haven country, so only the US citizen will pay the taxes. Is it clear? Is standalone and side-by-side model clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear, Priya,
Yes, sir.
Harsha?
Yes, sir.
So, Harsha, I hope now standalone is better clear with you. क्या
Yes.
disadvantage था standalone में? So
उसमें
we are
tax
collecting entirely in US and investment was also made in US. So whatever profit you are earning was accruing in US, so you have to pay taxes on the entire profit. Here, since the profit will not be accrued over there, so only the domestic hedge fund will pay tax. Offshore will not pay because it's located in a tax haven country. So that's a benefit available. So two funds are going side by side, one for a local, another for offshore, managed by the common investment management company. Means asset management company. So I hope slide number 37 is clear. Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Slide number 38. Is slide number 38 visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
I hope both previous two models are clear. Then only तीसरा model समझ में आएगा, नहीं तो नहीं आएगा. Is the standalone and side by side fund clear?
Yes, sir.
Shall I expect yes from everyone? Anuradha?
Yes, sir.
Nishta?
Yes, sir.
Akhil? Veena?
Yes, sir.
Piyush?
Yes, sir.
Sanu? Sanu is there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah. Yogesh?
No, sir.
Yogesh is also taking a lot of leaves. Anyone, any idea where is Yogesh? See, बहुत important chapter चल रहा है. You will face very difficulty. For sure, you will get question from hedge fund. I can guarantee you. 90% of investment bank opportunity will get question from hedge fund. This is sure. और ये तीनों चारों structure में से question आएंगे. Anyways, any idea where is Yogesh?
So called him, didn't pick up, and his internet is also off.
Okay. Just ask him to contact me after 4 o'clock. Just drop a message, Piyush. Ask him to call me after 4 o'clock, right?
Okay.
Anyway, shall I move to the next model now? The most common model which is as of now used. So we are on slide number 38. Shall I move it ahead with it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Master feeder model. Now, master feeder model. So where there are two structures. First is a feeder fund. Another is a master fund. So feeder fund only job is to collect funds and give it to the master funds to collect return and pass it back to the investor. So feeder fund responsibility is just to collect funds and remit it further to master funds. So under the master feeder model, there will be two feeder funds, one for US investors, what will be the US taxpayers, another will be the offshore feeder funds for non-US investor as well as US tax-free investor. So there will be two model, two feeder funds, one for US taxpayers, another feeder fund will be offshore feeder fund located again in some tax haven country for non-US people as well as US tax-free. So US investor will feed their fund in the US feeder fund. Non-US and US tax exempted will feed their fund in the offshore feeder fund. So the feeder fund responsibility is just to collect the fund and further remit it to master fund for investment. यहाँ पे जो investment होगा वो US feeder fund के नाम पे नहीं होगा, master offshore feeder fund के नाम पे नहीं होगा. Investment will be in the name of master fund. And then master fund will not be located in US. This master fund will be located in some tax haven countries so as to give maximum benefit. देखिए साइड बाय साइड में क्या हो रहा था, एक डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड था जो लोकल यूएस टैक्सपेयर्स का था और एक ऑफशोर था, बट इन्वेस्टमेंट जो डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड वाले थे उनका इन्वेस्टमेंट डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड के नाम पे था, ऑफशोर वालों का ऑफशोर नाम पे था. सो दो फंड साइमल्टेनियसली चल रहे थे और जो यूएस टैक्सपेयर थे उनका इन्वेस्टमेंट जो हो रहा था वो डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड के नाम से हो रहा था और फॉरेन वाले का फॉरेन के नाम से. इसमें क्या होगा, अ फीडर व्हीकल विल बी यूज्ड. सो यूएस वाले जो इन्वेस्टर्स है वो यूएस फीडर फंड में फंड करेंगे, ऑफशोर वाले ऑफशोर फीडर फंड्स पे फंड भेज फीड करेंगे और दोनों के दोनों फर्दर रेमिट कर देंगे टू अ मास्टर फंड. दिस मास्टर फंड will be located in some offshore tax haven country where there is no taxes there. So this master fund will be located in that country and there will be an investment manager which will also, the AMC that will also be located in that offshore location who will manage this master fund. So master feeder structure is a common way that hedge funds are set up to accept the assets from both foreign and tax exempted investors and domestic investors in the most tax efficient and trading efficient manner possible. The master or central fund usually located in 10 tax efficient jurisdiction, tax haven countries, British Virgin Island, Cayman Islands, Solomon Island, Panama, etc. Now, I'm explaining this, repeating it again. Under the feeder master model, there will be two feeder vehicle whose job is to just collect the fund and remit further. No investment will be made in the name of feeder funds. So US taxpayer will put their money in US feeder fund. Offshore non-US people as well US tax exempt people will feed their fund in that vehicle. Now, offshore feeder fund, both will collect the funds and further remit to a master fund. And master fund will be located in the offshore location. Of course, it's a tax exempted, maybe some tax exempted country. And asset management company which is managing will also be located in that country. So whatever returns is earned by the feeder fund, by whatever returns are earned by the master fund, will be redistributed back to the feeder fund, who in turn redistribute back to the original investors. So side by side में क्या हो रहा था? There were two funds that were maintained side by a common investment manager. However, difference क्या है side by side और master feeder में? Side by side में US के जो इन्वेस्टर्स थे उनका पैसा डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड में जा रहा था और इन्वेस्टमेंट भी इस डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड के नाम पे हो रहा था. ऑफशोर वाले को ऑफशोर में जा रहा था, इन्वेस्टमेंट इन ऑफशोर. ओनली द मैनेजमेंट वाज डन बाय यूएस बेस्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट मैनेजर. वेयर जो फीडर फंड्स हैं, whether it's a US based or offshore based, they just collect and further remit it to the master fund, which will be located. So here the investment will be made in the form of master fund, not in the form of feeder vehicle. Is the master feeder model clear?
Yes, sir.
I hope the difference between side by side and master feeder is very clear with everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? No doubts?
No doubt.
So it means वहाँ पे individually हम offshore and the other is onshore, तो अलग अलग इन्वेस्ट करते थे एंड देन यहाँ पर हम सिर्फ एक फंड बना देते हैं दोनों को मिक्स करके, दैट इज मास्टर फंड.
या वहां पे हम लोग क्या कर रहे थे, दो फंड साइड बाय साइड चला रहे थे. डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड का डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड में पैसा लेते थे और उसी में डोमेस्टिक हेज फंड के नाम पे इन्वेस्ट करते थे. ऑफशोर का ऑफशोर में लेते थे और ऑफशोर के नाम से इन्वेस्ट करते थे. कि मैनेजमेंट कॉमन करता था एमसी, राइट. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, यूएस वाले यूएस फीडर फंड में डालेंगे, ऑफशोर वाले ऑफशोर में डालेंगे, दोनों मिलकर एक मास्टर फंड में पैसा डाल देंगे जो कि एक टैक्स हेवन कंट्री में ऑपरेट है. तो हियर द इन्वेस्टमेंट विल बी मेड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ दिस मास्टर फंड, नॉट इन द name of feeder funds. Is it clear? And that master fund as well as the asset management company who manages will be located in the offshore location. Generally tax haven countries hoti like British Virgin Island. Tax haven means there is no taxes, right? Or very nominal taxes there. Generally no taxes. Yeah. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's do the next and the last form. Very easy form. Master
Sir?
most of the one of the most common form of structure.
Sir?
Any doubts further?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts to anyone?
Yes, sir. Me.
Yeah, बोलिए.
Sir, when the fund is like sent back to the domestic country or the home country, then the domestic or the home country won't charge the taxes.
देखिए उसमें क्या होगा कि when the funds will be sent back to the home country like US, so that country will charge it on individual basis, not on the fund basis as a whole. So it is more tax efficient. For example, if Piyush earn $10, so they will charge according to the $10 because there is slab rate and everything. तो पूरे फंड पे टैक्स नहीं लगेगा, केवल पीयूष ने जो कमाया है उस फंड उस पे स्पेसिफिकली पीयूष के लेवल पे टैक्स लगेगा, rather than, and plus there is a slab rate in most of the countries, there is slab rate, so it's more efficient rather than giving a flat 30-40% according to slab rate, so it will be more tax efficient. Is it clear?
Yes.
जैसे एक कंपनी पे 30% टैक्स लग रहा है, एक आप पे 10, 20, 30 लग रहा है, तो 10, 20, 30% slab is more effective ना.
Yes. So basically master feeder से सीधा individual accounts में पैसा जाएगा.
मास्टर फंड से जाएगा फीडर फंड के पास, फीडर फंड के थ्रू इन्वेस्टर अकाउंट पे जाएगा. इज इट क्लियर? फीडिंग में इनफ्लो भी होगा, आउटफ्लो भी होगा. फर्स्ट इन्वेस्टर्स अपना पैसा यूएस वाले यूएस मास्टर फीडर फंड में डालेंगे, ऑफशोर वाले ऑफशोर में डालेंगे, फिर वहां से वो रेमिट होकर मास्टर फंड में चला जाएगा, फिर मास्टर फंड से जो भी रिटर्न उन्होंने कमाया that will be resent to the respective feeder funds. Feeder funds further fund करेंगे to the individual people who have contributed. Is it clear? Is it clear, Piyush?
Yes, sir.
Any further doubts to anyone?
No, sir.
Veena clear? Veena, Priya, Arsha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
चलिए. Now, I'm on slide number 39. More details on master feeder fund structure. Investor plays, it's just what we have discussed into the textual form. The investor places their money. What is the master feeder fund structure? Investor places their money into the respective feeder funds, who and then invest in the master fund. It is the master fund that actually invests in the market. So investments are a master fund के नाम पे होते हैं. All the market trading occur at the master fund level. The purpose of feeder fund is just to feed investor funds into the master fund, and then they receive the flow of P&L back, which in turn feed at respective level. So जो भी profit earn हुआ है, वो master fund वापस respective feeder fund को दे देता है, domestic का domestic वो master fund respective अपने feeder fund को दे देगा, and for feeder fund in turn customers को दे देगा. So they receive the flow of PL back, which in turn feed it to the respective investors with the help of feeder funds. So investor places their money in the feeder funds, who then remit it to the master fund. It is the master fund who actually invests the money. All the market trading, buying and selling is done at the master fund level. The purpose of feeder fund is to just to feed the funds and put it into master feed. Whatever profit they earn, they will receive the flow of profit back, which in turn feed into each investor. So the feeder fund will receive it back from the master fund, who will feed into each investor. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is slide number 39 clear? It is just the repetition of
Yes.
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Any doubts so far? Piyush, Akhil, Veena, Harsha, Nishtha, Anuradha.
No, sir.
No, sir. Clear.
Last sort, that is fund of fund. Now, fund of fund, ये म्यूचुअल फंड्स भी होते हैं. तो फंड ऑफ फंड, म्यूचुअल फंड्स या हेज फंड क्या करते हैं? वो they collect the money from the investors and then they put it into other types of hedge funds. So fund of fund means they basically collect the money from the investors and then they put the money into different hedge funds. So that is fund of fund model. So दो ये म्यूचुअल फंड्स में भी होता है, कुछ फंड ऑफ फंड फंड्स मॉडल होते हैं कि ये पूल करते हैं पैसा लोगों से एंड देन दे डू नॉट इन्वेस्ट डायरेक्टली बट इन्वेस्ट इन अदर म्यूचुअल फंड्स, वैरायटी ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड्स टू फेच बेटर रिटर्न. सो दैट इज फंड ऑफ फंड. तो इसमें रिस्क कम होता है क्योंकि देयर आर टू प्रोफेशनल मैनेजमेंट पीपल इन्वॉल्व इन बिटवीन. However, risk is less, so profit will also be to some extent compensated on that ground. So what is fund of fund model of hedge funds? Let's discuss. These funds only invest their money in other different funds, not directly, but in other hedge funds. They do not invest fund directly in the market. Fund of fund give access to many different investment advisor through investment on only one fund. Yani they will collect the money from the investor and will not invest directly in the market, but will invest in any other different types of hedge funds. So the advantage is it gives access to many different investment advisors through investment in one fund. आपने एक fund में पैसा लगाया, उसने 4 different types of hedge fund में पैसा contribute कर दिया. So it will give you an access to many different investment advisors across the world. So you will earn average return, but less risky. बहुत high return नहीं मिलेगा, but एक average return you will earn, but the risk is also be less. So sometimes it fetch good returns also. So these funds only invest their money in other different funds. So they collect it and invest in different types of hedge funds. So the best advantage is fund of fund give access to many different investment advisor while investing in one fund. ये म्यूचुअल फंड्स में भी होता है, फंड ऑफ फंड्स, यू विल हैव फंड. सो वो क्या करते हैं, फंड कलेक्ट करते हैं और अलग अलग कैटेगरी ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड्स में बेस्ड ऑन देयर इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑब्जेक्टिव इन्वेस्ट कर देते हैं. सो you are investing in one fund, but you are getting an opportunity to earn profit from multiple funds through this model. So I hope fund of fund is a very easy model. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
पैसा खुद कलेक्ट करके अब किसी दूसरे हेज फंड्स में लगा देना, 3-4 जो भी बेस्ट हेज फंड्स हैं. So that risk is also less, and of course you get an opportunity to earn profit from the expertise of different hedge funds. Is it clear? Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So you want a break now or you want a break after some time?
Now, sir.
A very few slides are left. So let's have a break. After completing, we'll move towards corporate action, right? So we'll have a break. It's 2 p.m. So we'll catch you up to 10 p.m. IST. Is it clear? 2:10. Break till 2:10.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
But please make sure that everybody attends it and please keep the mic in the mute condition during the break. Although I'll try to pause the recording, but still, please keep